Well, hello, pretty girls. Happy Saturday. Hope you guys are enjoying your weekend so far. We are going to put together a couple of the cards from the August 2023 stamp of the month. So we're going to go ahead. It's not going to take very long. I'm putting both of the designs together in the same video. I don't normally do that. But they're really quick. And if you guys, I'm sure you noticed, I don't even need to tell you, but they are the same designs this month. So you have two of these fun little window cards in the kit this month, and then two of these more simplistic cards with this fun little sentiment in the color blocks on the back as well. But they're the exact same card in every single way, with the exception of one of them. The cardstock color is mink, and the other one, the cardstock color is toffee, but the paper is the same, the design is the same. And so I'm going to put together the ones that are toffee today, but you'll just repeat those same steps using the pieces for the mink as well, and you'll very quickly and easily be able to get all four cards put together. There are two mini album pages as well. We were actually going to do those first today, but right when I got ready to turn my camera on, I realized I didn't have the photos printed. And so we're moving to cards instead. So we're going to go ahead and get started. As I said, it's really just not going to take very long. And I just didn't really anticipate these projects having many questions or anything that you guys would actually need a video assembly in order to create. But just to go ahead and get the videos up and going, we're going to put them together. So you have all of your pieces pre-cut and ready to go. You guys know I always like to do that for you. So you really can just enjoy your time, stamping and embellishing and assembling, and not having to worry about getting a paper trimmer out or getting your Cricut out and reading a cutting guide and all the things. I love to do that for you. So even when I'm packing them at 3 a.m., I love to do them for you. So we're going to do our stamping for our card. But first, what we need to do quickly, and you guys, I mean, this is like in every time I turn the camera on. If you guys watch me live often, I seem to never be able to get my work surface situated. Like everything is always someplace different every time we turn the camera on. I'm not really sure. I'm just kind of a hot mess. So what I'm going to do is I want to make sure that my inside landscape stamp, you guys know on the stamp of the month, we've got this really cool, great big landscape stamp on here. And the thinking of you happens to fit really nicely kind of in the center of those two trees up here. If you guys did not want to use a thinking of you, you could use the Goodbye Isn't Forever, Love Is, or the Hello. They both would look really nicely up there as well. So if you guys don't need thinking of you cards, you can easily swap that out with no trouble. But what I wanted to do is I wanted my landscape to be centered, and I wanted my thinking of you to not only be centered in between the trees, but I wanted the thinking of you to be centered in the window. So what I'm going to do to ensure that I can make that happen is I am just like a little dollop of Tombow on the back so I can hold it where it needs to go and it's not going to shift on me. So I'm going to center my white on here, okay? Then I'm going to grab just a pencil and I'm going to close it, and I am going to just put some pencil marks up here in the corners. That is going to make sure, that's going to make sure that when we go to lay our stamp images down into our, I'm going to use a Misty today. You guys can use a block if you would like, but that's going to ensure that we can get it centered in that window, since that is essentially the first thing that a recipient would see when you open it out of the envelope. So I'm going to grab my Misty and place my, and I'm sorry, it usually does provide a little bit of glare on the, camera, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm going to place this down here, and let's see, on the off chance that it moves, I just want to make sure that it's lined up correctly. I am going to just do a bit of testing. I'm going to grab my landscape stamp, and I'm going to grab my, let's see, maybe I want to see about changing this up. Yeah, I may do that. We may change from the thinking of you, and we may use the Goodbye Isn't Forever. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I can see my little pencil marks here, and I want to make sure that my sentiment is placed down correct. So I am basically just kind of laying these on top of each other. Since we're using this sentiment that's a teeny tiny bit bigger, it's going to overlap just a smidge, and that's totally fine. So I'm just kind of laying them down. Then I'm going to pick it up with the top of my MISTI. We'll take this one off and place it back over here on the envelope, because we're going to do one at a time, because we're stamping, of course, in 2 different colors of ink. So we're going to grab our black stamp pad. Now that we have it lined up, and, you know, our blocks are great. Nothing against our blocks at all. It's just against my ability to keep my ink pads re-inked and to be able to line them back up. I love a really bold, crisp stamp image. I learned for years that the reason why I didn't really care for stamping was because I just couldn't seem to get a really crisp image, and it really drove me crazy. And so I found myself not messing with stamping much. But when I started to use the MISTI, being able to go back in a couple times, or maybe even more than that, to get a really good, perfect, crisp stamped image, it made me totally love stamping. I absolutely love it now. So if you guys are like that, and you struggle a little bit with getting perfect stamp images and that kind of thing, then a stamping platform might be a good solution for you. So I am lining this up again, and I'm going to pick it up with our top there. But what I'm going to do first is I am just going to erase my pencil lines. So it's something very strange that it seems like many times, not always, occasionally I'm able to get them erased off. But many times when you stamp on top of a pencil mark, you're not able to go back and rub it off and erase it afterward. So if you don't want them to show, you will want to go ahead and get them erased before you ink it up and stamp it. So now we're going to grab our toffee ink. And of course, always when you have an image that's quite a bit bigger, it takes a little bit more effort to get it completely stamped or inked up, and to get it to stamp really nice and even. So again, like one more time, stamping platform for the win. I absolutely love it. You guys ever try to stamp a large image, like a great big large image, you know, something that's on a funky block, like a 4x5 or a 2x6 or something like that? When you do that, and maybe it's a solid image, like it's really difficult to get a good, you know, even pressure and that kind of thing. It's just a struggle, or maybe it's not a struggle for you guys. It's definitely a struggle for me. So this just like solved all of those problems. And I asked myself, where have you been all my life? Because when these things hit the market, I was a snob and I said, I don't need one of those. I don't need one of those. Our blocks are just fine. And the blocks are fine. My abilities are not fine. So definitely made me love stamping a whole lot more. Okay, so now we are going to put adhesive on this for real. Put it right back in here, centered with that 1/8 of an inch border around the entire edge. You guys know that is like a signature of my cards. I totally love the border. Okay, so now you can see we have a nice little frame here of our sentiment with our landscape. Now the front decorative portion of our card is cut with the Cricut. It's so strange. I've had people ask me over the years, why do you not use pattern paper in your Cricut machine? And if you guys have never noticed, it is very rare that I will cut pattern paper on my Cricut. It is really just very rare. And it's just because my Cricut, you know, I tend to use blades until they start to get dull, and I use mats until, you know, they're not very sticky. And when you kind of do things like that, cut corners on things like that, you stand the chance, and often do, rip your paper. And so if I use pattern paper and I rip a sheet of paper, well, since the way that I run my business, I use the entire pack for either a workshop or a kit or something like that. If I lose one sheet, if I ruin one sheet, then I have to buy a whole nother pack just to replace that one sheet. Whereas cardstock, if I ruin one sheet, it's all good, right? I just grab another one because you can buy them in packs of 24. So that truly is just as simple as that of why I do not often cut pattern paper with the Cricut machine. However, Siri, shush, you're on Do Not Disturb. It is just, it's not very often that you guys will see pattern paper being cut with it. But this was just such a fun, card pattern, and it was a brand new one. I'd had it in my list for a long, long time to use, and it worked perfect because we had that big landscape. And so, you know, you take up a lot of the, real estate with the stamp set. You have to have a place to put that pattern paper. And so the front of the card was perfect for it. Okay, so I used a little bit of the green glue. You can use any kind of liquid adhesive that you would like, or a glue dot, or whatever you know, feel fancy about, to place the centers of our flowers in. And I did flip over the centers of the honey butter, or the Sundance, pardon me. The bottom layer is honey butter. The top, the center of the flower is Sundance, and it's pretty bold on the palette side of the cardstock. So I flipped it over just to kind of mute that down just a little tiny bit. I'm going to put a little bit of foam tape on here. It's optional. I know some of you guys are like, we're not putting dimension on our cards. That's okay. That is okay. I just happen to love dimension on my cards. So we're putting some regular foam tape on the big one. And I'm going to put some thin 3D foam tape on the small one because I want the big one to overlap and kind of sit on top of the little flower. Now, when I put the center of the flower on there, like I always do with liquid adhesive, I spilled out a little on the edges, which means it's still wet. And so I placed it over here on this slick surface that had my dots on it, or my foam tape on it, so it was not going to get all over my mat. If I would have caught it earlier, I would have taken my paintbrush. I have a paintbrush sitting right next to me in my little tool caddy. And it's just kind of an older paintbrush. There's nothing fancy about it. But a tip for you guys is, if you're like me and you tend to get liquid adhesive kind of places the liquid adhesive is not supposed to be, if you take a paintbrush and just kind of wipe it up, it'll take down some of that shine, because you know when most of the liquid adhesive will dry, it has a bit of a shine. But it'll take down some of that shine. It'll also take up most of the glue, so the sticky will be gone. But you'll need to do it before it gets dry. So just a fun little tip for you guys, just in case you're like me and you do that a lot. So now what we're going to do is we are going to overlap our flowers just a teeny tiny bit. Just a teeny tiny bit. Now, the one thing we want to make sure is that if you guys are using foam tape or adhesive in general, any type of adhesive that you're using on the back of your flowers, make sure that whatever edge of your flower, like for instance, the big one, the petal is overlapping the window, make sure there's no adhesive there, okay? We do not want to essentially stick our card closed, okay? So if you were to open this and you had foam tape showing and you took the adhesive off, when you closed it, it's essentially going to stick to itself, right? It'll stick closed. And so you want to make sure that does not happen. So I many times just take off if I'm using foam tape rather than regular adhesive, many times I will just kind of take off the backing, and I won't commit to it. I won't push it down really hard. Okay, see, that's overlapping. So I know that I need to adjust it. So we'll see if we can get that little corner lined up. Oop, we still got one little corner hanging out there. I want it as far up in that corner as I can without overlapping. There we go. Let's see if we've got it turned now. Okay, perfection. Okay, so now the little one is no issues where we're placing it, because it's not going to be anywhere near that little window up there, okay? So we're just tucking it underneath the petals of the larger flower, and I have sent a leaf flying somewhere because I put adhesive on it, and now it's sticking somewhere. So we have our leaves piggybacked. I'm just going to kind of set them on top of each other, and we're going to tuck them up underneath here. There we go. It's really just as easy as that, guys. Okay, so we're going to grab a few dots. We're going to use circles on this one. The next card we will have some hearts. I tend to use the circles more than I use the others. The hearts are my second most often used, and the stars are definitely the one I use the least. So I wonder if I'm alone in that. Do you guys find that you use more than one shape more than the others? And if so, I would be curious to know, is it the circles? Is it the hearts? Or do you use the stars? I'm just curious. I might move that one up a tiny bit. Okay. All right, guys. So that one's done. See, I told you, really, really quick and easy. Okay. So this is going to be essentially project number 3 and project number 4, because you're going to do the very same thing, only you will do it with the mink cardstock to complete project number 4. Okay. So we'll move these out of the way and let's start on what will be project 5 and project 6. So just these really simplistic cards. Some of you guys, it's kind of been a funny over the years, but this is my has been my my favorite go-to card pattern for years and years and years. I love it. It's just easy. It's a great use of product. It fills up the entire card base. You have lots of color, and I just love it. It's so fun. And I haven't used it in months and months and months. And so I thought it was about time, right? Now, you may or you may not know. If you guys looked at the cutting guide, then you know this. And if you just are enjoying the pre-cut kit and you don't really give a hoot about the cutting guide, you didn't notice it. But just a fun little tip for you guys. If you're going to recut this, because you know, when you qualify for the kit, you get the cutting file in the design space file. So that means you guys can, once you have put together the pre-cut kit that I have provided for you, that you've earned with your $75 order in August, right? You can recut those projects in other papers. Use up stuff you have in your stash. Maybe you guys love this card design and you just want to cut it over and over and over with product that you already have, paper you already have. You can absolutely do that. But let me tell you kind of how these two cards merge together. So the inside of this little square here that provided the little window, I had these two little pieces left over. And so sometimes it's a challenge and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, where can I use these? I don't want to not include them in the kit. Where can I use these? And so you guys will see here that these are just two smaller pieces that will create this banner back behind our sentiment space. Now, if you guys wanted to dovetail the end of this to give it the fork shape at the bottom, you absolutely can. And you honestly can probably get this length with a single of the pieces if you just cut it down the center and leave a portion of it at the top above your little scallop square, and then the other portion down here below your scallop square, because really nobody sees what's behind it anyway, right? So there's no reason why you can't cheat a little bit and be a little bit more efficient with your product. But that is where this came from. If you guys were looking at the cutting guide or hadn't really paid attention, just a fun little idea for you guys if you wanted to do a little bit of product efficiency. So let's bring back in our stamping platform. We'll pull off our landscape up here. It is a little bit dirty. I need to Norwex this one. Okay, we'll put this back on the carrier sheet. And we are going to use the tree, and we're going to use the Goodbye Isn't Forever. Sadly, I'm making a lot of sympathy cards, but extremely heartbreaking that my family needs a lot of sympathy cards lately. It's been really just not okay. But so we are going to stamp the Praying Your Loss down here on our yellow. And you guys might line your stamp up on the grid on the top of the lid. I don't usually do that. I just like to place it down onto my whatever I'm going to stamp. And that seems to work a little bit better doing it that way rather than using the grid, because I tend to not get it exactly straight and all of that, because it actually wants to stick to this lid here. Whereas if I'm just putting it onto my paper, it doesn't really stick quite as much to my paper. So I can kind of move it around and shift it around, and I can seem to get a little bit better positioning that way. And it also could just be something that I'm overthinking, which is totally possible. Okay, so perfect. So we're done with this one. Put that out of the way. We will grab that one back on the carrier sheet. Now I am going to, what I'm actually going to do is grab just a teeny tiny bit of scrap paper because my tree is likely to be stamped off the edge of my little sentiment. And I don't want to get it on my mat. So what I'm actually going to do, okay, our magnets will fit. Sometimes when my stamp is too big to scale of the piece that I'm stamping on, I will just forego the magnets altogether and put a little bit of Tombow on the back of it and stick it down on my mat. That works really well for me. Not everyone agrees with that, but that works really, really well for me. And it is essentially giving you the same result without having to worry about needing to have a piece, quite a bit bigger than what you're stamping, so you have room for the magnet. I hope that makes sense. It probably doesn't. Okay, so, oh, you know what we did? You know what we did, guys? Okay. I could do this for sake of just making them a little bit different, but I'm not going to do it because I like the other tree better. So hang tight while we course correct, okay? Because that's what we do around here at Studio Sue's. So I'm going to flip this over. That's the beauty of white cardstock, is it looks the exact same on the back as it does on the front, right? So I'm going to run my doodling pin around the outside of this really quickly, and we're restamping it. I actually used a different stamp for that tree, and I just completely missed it. We're just on autopilot around here. So we are going to do this once more. Okay, so let me grab the other stamp. Okay, so we're back to the landscape stamp, all right? That is why my brain was telling you we are going to do this with the scratch paper and the Tombow because it's going to not have a place for the magnet. And so my brain was working on the right track, but we were not actually doing what we were supposed to be doing. So since our sentiment stamp is going to overhang, we're going to place this down here. Maybe we need to be a little tiny bit further up. 2 magnets in your stamping platform is challenging because they want to stick together, but it is so helpful to have 2. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to move that over just a tiny bit. Oh my word. Just a hot mess happening around here, guys. Just a hot mess. There we go. Now we're cooking with bacon. Okay. All right. Maybe we've got a little tiny bit of a magnet area there. Okay. And if you guys wanted to have like the bench on there, or even that smaller tree as part of the road, that would look really cool. It's totally up to you, but you are definitely going to be significantly bigger than your sentiment space. So put a little bit of scratch paper underneath, whether you are using a stamping platform or using just a block, to keep ink from getting all over the place. Okay, there we go. Finally. Okay, we've got that one done. So we'll pull that off now. Now we'll grab our sentiment. And we are just going to center it. Okay. Grab our black. And of course, when you are going to do the opposite card, guys, the one with the mink, you can grab black and mink, just like I did, or you can stamp in toffee if you wanted. I gotta admit, I almost switched the inks because when I was creating these, I created the toffee and the mink at the same time. And whenever I had all of my pieces stamped before I went to assemble, I had them switched. And I thought, wow, I actually kind of like the brown and the gray together, which was odd for me to say, but I did like the look of it. So I almost did a little bit of flip-flopping. So if you guys want to try that, maybe stamp them and lay them side by side and see which one you like best. You might agree with that. So we'll keep it, just for the sake of the video, we will keep it the way the original was created. but you guys can go rogue if you want to. All right, get our card base out. The score line is usually never correct. That's okay, just machines, I think. So I always like to refold it and give it a really good crisp score. Okay, there we go. All right, so now this is the easiest card pattern on the planet. We are going to start from the outside and work our way in. So you should have 1/8 of an inch border around the top and either edge. It is not in our catalog, Linda. We do not have one in our catalog. And I want to say there's a lot of them on the market, but there's really not that many. I have the Misty in all 3 sizes. Years ago, before I determined that they really were not very helpful, which was a total falsehood, I had purchased the Tim Holtz platform, and I just really wasn't, I didn't really care enough to learn how to use it correctly. And so I ended up just selling it in a purge sale. If I knew then what I know now, oh my gosh, I could have been a master with stamping, had I known that. But, you know, I'm usually a day late and a dollar short. So, I love it now. And it makes me love my stamps more than I ever thought possible. So, if you guys find one that you really like, I feel like it is going to up your stamping game. It is going to give you, it's going to give you a lot more confidence with your stamping, especially if you're like me, maybe you have some hand trimmers or you're a little bit unsure, or sometimes it's just you want the ability to stamp multiple times and not have to worry about relining it up. It's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to do something that a lot of you guys roll your eyes at. It's okay. We can still be friends. But all of my cards have dimension, and I don't care that I have to put extra stamps on there. It doesn't bother me at all. So I'm actually putting multiple layers of foam tape on my sentiment space here. So I am going to, oh man, look what I did. Hang on. We'll see if we can pull this up. So I put the regular palette color of the desert sand on the scalloped square. Look at me and all my mistakes today, you guys. Holy smokes. We may just have to leave it because this one is stuck. I put the regular palette color of the desert sand on the bottom, or not desert sand. It used to be desert sand. It's toffee now. But the middle one is toffee upside down. So you have that second generation, if you will, that lighter version of the toffee, and it made a really nice gradient effect. So you've got regular toffee there. I'm going to flip it over. So I've got a little bit of the light toffee here. Now I have a little bit of residue of my foam tape there. That's going to be okay because my white sentiment piece will actually just cover that up. So no one will ever even know that was there. So let's go ahead and get these down. And this is just remnants of the thin cut, the slimline thin cut shaker windows that we have. I have to say it every time I do a video and I talk about these. When we got these packages, they had the borders of the foam tape and then all of these foam squares that were all cut into small squares in the middle. And you guys, oh my gosh, heaven's sakes, I need more sleep. It was right the first time, I just wasn't paying attention. What's new, right? But I had to go in and I wanted to determine whether these packages were more expensive or less expensive than our regular rolls of foam tape, because I felt like they were super handy because all of the squares were already cut for us. So we didn't have to get our rolls of our foam tape out and cut them all with our scissors. It was awesome. And so when I got my tape measure out, or got my calculator out and did the math, I learned and was very happy to share with my customers that the buying foam tape per inch in the slimline shaker window package is actually 1/3 less expensive than buying foam tape on the roll. And you also get the acetate windows with that package, and you also have the squares already cut for you, so you don't have to do that with your scissors. So it saves time and it saves money. And so now, instead of getting regular foam tape on the roll, I tend to just get packages of those, and they work super duper well. So if you guys didn't know that, just another little fun fact for you. Okay, so we're gonna put this little guy, we've piggybacked our 3 sentiment spaces. We're gonna put this little guy up here. I've kind of got him centered in between the top edge and the bottom edge of the blue and the green. And what I want to do is make sure that I get my plaid piece here centered. So I'm actually gonna just kind of tuck it down from the top, and there's a little tiny bit overhanging, which is not a big deal. I'll just cut it off. And then the second one, we're gonna do the very same thing. I just want to pay attention to where the bottom edge is going. Now, if you guys wanted to dovetail it, you can add your little dovetails there. So I'm just visually lining up this bottom piece with the top piece there, sticking down a little part of it so it won't move. Then I'll move that, tuck that up underneath, and then this little guy gets adhered right on top of there. And no one knows that it was 2 separate pieces. Okay. I love this card, you guys. It is just simplistic and easy and doesn't take a lot of paper, but there's not a lot of blank space on there either. I love it. When I got distracted talking about the platform, when we were putting these color block pieces down that are on the bottom of the card, you're going to start from the top and then move to the bottom. Don't put blue, green, yellow on here. You're able to space them much easier if you'll put the one on the top and then move down and put the one on the bottom, and then the middle one just gets centered. If you start from one direction and you head the opposite direction, it's much harder to get this border to match up with the others. So I kind of like to work my way in. That just is really successful for me. So a tip for you guys, if maybe you struggle getting things centered when you have multiple pieces kind of laying down to create a background. Okay, so just a couple of the black hearts. I've got the big one and the medium size down there at the bottom on the banner. And then the little tiny baby one goes up there by the tree. Okay, guys, crazy, quick and easy, right? Quick, quick, quick. So the same thing with the other card that we did. You're gonna repeat these steps using the mink instead of the toffee. And they're going to fly together, you guys. Absolutely fly together. I do still have some of these kits left, and I do still have a few of the add-on kits left. And you guys know the add-on kits are all of the pre-cut Cricut pieces, print and cut pieces, and there are a ton of them that go with my great big Celebrate workshop. When I'm done with the camera, I will link the video to the Celebrate workshop down in the comments, but there are a stinking ton of them. And the video that I will link for you guys shows the 8 cards that I created using the print and cut pieces that I designed as well. Most of those print and cut pieces, the Cricut images, are just free shapes. So if you're someone that does not have Cricut access, there are not, I think there is a image from one of the Close to My Heart cartridges, and I think one other one. But most of them are just things that I cut and sliced and diced and welded and all of that, just kind of plain in Cricut. So it's just using the free shapes. So that is good news for some of you guys that do not have access. But I have a few of those left as well. So remember, and again, it's all in the blog post. It's all in all the videos. Your Stamp of the Month kit, that is the 6 project kit, the 6 pre-cut projects, okay? That is going to be free, and I will ship it right to your door with a $75 order on my shopping website. It's all pre-cut. It will come in a cardboard mailer. You've got your base pages, all of your cards and envelopes. with all of the pieces down inside. So again, you're cutting nothing. It's all done for you. You're just going to pull it out of the envelope just like I did to put it together. This is all of your pieces for your layouts. That's all separated for you. They're fun little bite-sized kits, guys. It's a fun way to use your stamp set. If you are a Close to My Heart VIP with me, then you're not going to pay anything for your stamp set. Your $20 stamp set will be totally free with your order. And this is just a quick and easy way for you guys to get some mileage out of your stamp set right away. Get that thing inked up and really enjoy getting a great deal on it, right? If you're not a VIP, then why not? I can help you with that. It's a great program. It'll pay for itself your first order. But you get free Stamp of the Months all year long. But if you're not a VIP, then your Stamp of the Month will be $5. So instead of $20, you're going to pay $5, and your $75 order will still get you one of these kits. If you place a $125 order, you get both of them. You get the add-on kit as well as the Stamp of the Month kit. Okay. You can use, if you don't like to do pages, you can look at my video with the cards and you can play around and make some fun cards with the pieces that are in here. But you'll get both of them providing I still have these in stock. Once I run out of these, I don't restock them. And so I have a few left at this time. But once they're gone, they're gone. I don't make any more. So I hope that that makes sense. So I'm going to shut my camera off, guys. We're going to call these projects good. I'm going to go and get my photos printed. I don't know if we'll get the video today or not, but I'm going to try to get that done so you guys have it available should you need it. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. I hope you're doing something fun. If you're not in your craft room, like I have been all day since 4:30 this morning, then maybe you're outside enjoying. It's probably hot where you are or raining. It's both where I am. So whatever you're doing, I hope your day is great, and I hope your Sunday is even better. And I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.